It's a great time for us. It's a great time for us. It's time for peer reviews. Did you like that little song? It was as much effort as this story is going to bring us, so... Welcome to Fear Itself Reviews, Hyper-Realistic Edition. I mean Squidward Suicide. I'm not even going to fuck around with this one. You all knew, if you watched my last review, I was going to be doing this one next. So, mouse is turning off on me. Let's fucking get it started, alright? So first I gotta get this out of my way so I can see on the screen. We're off to a fucking fantastic start, I tell ya. Alright, and by the way, my last review video did not get demonetized, so let's see if we can go for a lucky 3, or if this one's gonna be the one that finally puts me out for good. Well, yeah, that's always a fun game to play. Today we will be reviewing the very popular story, Squidward's Suicide. Now, fun fact, I showed this to one of my cousins, and when he was younger, of course. Back whenever, I can't say shit. This would have scared me more than the shit I got scared by was Jeff the Killer, and at one point I was like really terrified of Pennywise, hence why the Hatter is mostly based off of him, I was terrified of Pennywise whenever I first saw the original It. For a while, my brother would just say, "They all float." And I would literally I would like put my hands over my ears and I would say, no, stop. I was terrified. And then, of course, now I can watch that movie and I can laugh my ass off at Tim Curry because Tim Curry is just brilliant. But, anyways, let's get into today's story. That's enough about my pathetic life that you don't want to hear about. But yeah, this story scared one of my cousins whenever he was really young. Not like super, super young, but young enough that this could scare you. Because I was scared by Jeff the Killer at about that age, so, I was still into these stupid stories, and that's why I was showing them to them. So, I'm no better for having any interest in this story at the time and showing it to them than they are for getting scared by it. So here's the story. I just want to start off by saying that if you want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. Now I want to take those words right there. Prepare to be disappointed. And I think I'm gonna make that the thumbnail. I'm gonna put prepare to be disappointed on the thumbnail of this. I'm gonna make my own for this video. I've just kind of taken others for the last few for funny thumbnails, but this one I think I'm gonna make my own, and that's gonna be the thumbnail. Prepare to be disappointed. There just isn't one. That's always a great sign. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005 for my degree in animation. It wasn't paid, of course. Most internships aren't, but it did have some perks beyond education. To adults, it might not seem like a big one, but most kids at the time would go crazy over it. And are you a man-child, sir? Now, since I work directly with the editors and animators, I got to view the new episodes days before they aired. Holy shit! I'll get right to it without giving too many unnecessary details. They had very recently made the SpongeBob movie, and the entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, so it took them longer to start up the season. But the delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything back for several months. Me and 2 other interns were in the editing room along with the lead animators and sound editors for the final cut. We received the copy that was supposed to be Fear of a Krabby Patty and gathered around the screen to watch. Now I have to immediately say one thing about this story. I am very glad that it is not already wrought with errors in punctuation, capitalization, spelling, anything, use of words. It's pretty fluid. It's just a shit story. So, I can't excuse it for that, but at least it's written good. Not really. It's such a backhanded compliment that I feel like it's almost not even worth giving. We can't, I'm not cutting that out. Fuck you. Now, given that it isn't final yet, animators often put up a mock title card, sort of an inside joke for us, with phony, oftentimes lewd titles such as How Sex Doesn't Work instead of Rockabye Bye Valve, and SpongeBob and Patrick adopt when SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea scallop. Nothing particularly funny, but work-related chuckles. So, when we saw the title card, Squidward's Suicide, we didn't think it more than a morbid joke. Really. How Sex Doesn't Work. That's a pretty funny little name there. Squidward's Suicide. Okay, I get the morbid part. Where's the joke? Where did you even remotely find a joke in that? That's not a joke. You insensitive fuck. Alright. One of the interns did a small throat laugh at it. The happy-go-lucky music plays as is normal. The story began with Squidward practicing his... We've just done something that I hate. Can you tell me what it is, everybody? Say it with me now. We changed the tense. Why do these stories have to keep doing that? Why can you not just write it? If it happened in the past, keep it in the past. If it happens in the present, keep it in the present. If it happens in the fucking future, keep it in the future. Why do you have to... The music plays as normal. Story began. If you were in the present and you were saying that the music plays as normal, it would say the story begins. Hitting a few sour notes like normal, we hear SpongeBob laughing outside and Squidward stops, yelling at him to keep it down as he has a concert that night and needs to practice. SpongeBob says okay and goes to see Sandy and Patrick. The bubble splash screen comes up and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is when things began to seem off. Once again, changing tenses with words. Correctly, what it said, the bubble splash screen came up and we saw the ending of Squidward's concert. That is how you do it. It is so fucking simple that it hurts me. It hurts me. It hurts me. It hurts me. It makes devilish things come out. Anyways, while playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't. At this point, sound is synced up with animation, so yes, that's not common. But when he stops playing, the sound finishes as if the skip never happened. There is slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Not normal cartoon booing that's common in the show, but you could very clearly hear malice in it. Squidward's in... So, what? People are just in the crowd going... Boo! 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 Like, they're just, like, evil, like, demons. I'm trying to understand how you can understand malice in a boo. How is... I mean, the cartoon booing, I can hear it in my head now, and it doesn't sound any worse than somebody else. Like, there will be people that are, like, screaming in those cartoon boos. Like, it's not any more malicious than an actual boo. I mean, unless you're fucking throwing off a radical off of a stage, or, like, literally if you've seen an episode of Law & Order, they had, like, this radical person, and they recently just did that, where, like, they went against her because she was spewing all this bullshit. That's different. That's not like this. They don't storm the stage and try to kill Squidward. And in fact, in the actual episode, I believe whenever he has a clarinet concert, I believe he does get shit thrown at him and stuff. So, you know, I don't even know. I am so fucking sick of this shit. It's not as bad as our next one, though. Squidward's in full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot goes to the crowd with SpongeBob in center frame, and he too is booing, very much unlike him. This isn't the oddest thing, though. What is odd is everyone has... Say it with me, people! It's the gospel of truth! Hyper-realistic eyes! Very detailed. Clearly not shots of people's eyes, but something a bit more real than CGI. Yeah? Is it now? Alright, here we go. The pupils were red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused, but since we weren't the writers, we didn't question its appeal to children yet. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't. The shot goes to Squidward, sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view out of his porthole window is of a night sky, so it isn't very long after the concert. The unsettling part is at this point there is no sound. Literally no sound. Not even the feedback from the speakers in the room. It's as if the speakers were turned off, though their status showed them working perfectly. He just sat there, blinking, in this silence for about 30 seconds. Then he started to sob softly. He put his hands, tentacles, over his eyes and cried quietly for a full minute more. All the while, a sound in the background very slowly growing from nothing to barely audible. It sounded like a slight breeze through a forest. The screen slowly begins to zoom. Oh my god. Stop switching your fucking tenses, bitch! The screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face. By slow, I mean it's only noticeable if you look at shots 10 seconds apart side by side. His sobbing gets louder, more full of hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit as if it twists in on itself for a split second, then back to normal. The wind through the trees sound gets slowly louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The eerie part is this sound, and Squidward's sobbing sounded real. The eerie part is this sound, and Squidward's sobbing sounded real? I know. I keep fucking doing this with the tense on here, but that's this main one's problem. I mean, Jesus, every other fucking sentence, I'm having to switch tenses to one that doesn't make any sense. The fuck's wrong with you people? Jesus Christ. How hard is it to fucking write a story in one time? If you're going to switch the time, then keep it in the switched time. For instance, in my story, we have a flashback in Chapter 6 at the end of it. And Chapter 7 begins inside of the flashback. So, he's remembering it like it's happening again. Therefore, it's set in the present like it's happening. But, in reality, we all know that it's not. It was established previously that he is remembering it. And it is in the past already. But we have to see exactly what happened. I know I keep making comparisons with my writing, but I just don't know exactly what else to do. I mean, other people's writing, it's obvious that they keep it in their tense. That's why they're fucking writers! I consider myself on the level of these people that write these stories online, because I'm not an amazing... I don't consider myself an amazing author that's got all these amazing ideas. Honestly, Madness in Wonderland is the most complex idea I've ever come up with, and I think it's only because of the fact that I have a great passion for the original source material, and it's my favorite Disney movie of all time, and it just absolutely fascinates me. That's probably why there's so much detail and consistency with the story, because I actually care about it more than anything else. Looking at my other works, no. I am definitely on the level of these other people, and I would even say that Madness in Wonderland is not, like, fantastic. I personally, I wouldn't. I don't know what other people think, and if they say that it's good, then that's great. I'm glad they can enjoy it, and that's why I put it out. But, you know, it's fucking ridiculous when you can't write a story and keep it in one goddamn sentence, or one goddamn tense. Like, seriously. How stupid do you have to be to do this? What's going on here? What's going on here? The story's so shitty it cut out on me. Oh wow, that's not good. All right, well let's get this shit show on the road because we are already almost 20 minutes in. This is gonna be a shorter one. I'm gonna make this shorter because I fucking hate this shit. It's just a stupid story and it's very graphic. There's gonna be a disclaimer at the beginning of this video that that tells you if you have a weak stomach or if you do not like brutal, unnecessary gore that has no place in anything, then get out of here now. Because this is going to be a very brutal story in about a paragraph. I'm about to start getting into this stuff. So, just listen. Below the sound of the wind and sobbing, very faint. I know I skipped a few. I don't really give a fuck. Very faint, sounded like laughing. It came at odd intervals and never lasted more than a second, so you had a hard time pinning it. We watched this show twice, so pardon me if things sound too specific, but I've had time to think about them. I need the fan on. It's time for that shitty background noise sound again. Yeah, there we go. Shitty background noise for a shitty story. Alright. Alright, now we go. So pardon me, it sounds too soon. After 30 seconds of this, the screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over the screen, as if a single frame was replaced. The lead animation editor paused and rewound frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It was a still photo of a dead child. He couldn't have been more than 6. The face was mangled and bloodied, one eye dangling over his upturned face popped. He was naked down to his underwear, his stomach crudely cut open, and his entrails laying beside him. He was laying on some pavement that was probably a road. If you're wondering why I'm not, like, doing any kind of, like, joking voice right now or anything, the reason I did this one was more out of hatred than pure, like, funniness. This is disgusting. Whoever wrote this, you are disgusting. This is absolutely appalling. How dare you? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do another disclaimer here. I do have dead children in my story. That is true. I've hinted at it already in chapter 8. It's pretty obvious what's happening. I gave a pretty good clue, and it will be explained exactly what happened to them, but they do not have brutal deaths at all. I do not go into detail about how these children die or how they are brutally, like, mangled and tortured. That's not in the story. And that's because I don't believe in that. That's a disgusting and terrible thing to put into a story. Torture or murder of a child in horrific fashion like this. And naked? Are you fucking kidding me? What's wrong with you? Are you a fucking pervert? Somebody should I should stop because I'm going to say something I'm going to regret on here. The most unsettling part was that there was a shadow of the photographer. There was no crime tape, no evidence tags or markers, and the angle was completely off for a shot designed to be evidence. It would seem the photographer was the person responsible for the child's death. We were of course mortified, but pressed on, hoping that it was just a sick joke. The screen flipped back to Squidward, still sobbing louder than before in half body and frame. There was now what appeared to be blood running down his face from his eyes. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic fashion, looking as if if you touched it, you'd get blood on your fingers. The wind sounded now as if it were that of a gale blowing through the forest. There were even snapping sounds of branches, the laughing a deep baritone, lasting at longer intervals and coming more frequently. After about 20 more seconds, the screen again twisted and showed a single frame photo. The editor was reluctant to go back, we all were, but we knew we had to. This time the photo was that of what appeared to be a little girl, no older than the first child. Keep it going with the dead children, why not? She was laying on her stomach, her barrettes in a pool of blood next to her. Her left eye was too popped out. Wait. Her left eye was too popped out and popped. Had to get out that her eyes popped out, right? You just had to hammer it in there by putting that in there twice, even though that makes absolutely no sense when you read it. Naked, of course, except for her underpants. Her entrails were piled on top of her above another crude cut along her back. This makes me sick. Mr. Creepypasta, I get why you did these stories, because back then they were all the rage and they're all fucking popular. And I could have done that whenever I started my channel to get popular, to get traffic. I knew that those stories were getting traffic at the time. I was watching your channel. I knew which videos on yours did popular and which ones didn't. And I'm not gonna lie, for a lot of my earlier selections, that's exactly what I did, was I tried to copy you. And further down the line, I decided to make my own selections because I didn't want to just be a carbon copycat of you. And luckily, I think I've succeeded in doing that now because I have much more diverse content now than I did. And I also have made my own stories now and my own judgments on what I think are good stories. And clearly we differ on opinion. And the reason that I call you out is because you are the one that has made these stories extremely popular. I heard these stories all because of you. And looking back on them now, there's only one story that I can say was grotesque like this. Other than the Case File series, other than, few exceptions, all Dead and Spread stories are like that, and a few Vincent Vinicava stories. Other than the ones that are good in their gore, obviously, Crybaby Lane is probably the only one of these kinds of things that actually worked. And I actually have considered doing that story. It's a very sick and disgusting story, and I would have to put a disclaimer. It's not a story for the faint of heart, but it is a great story, I feel. I really do think it's a good story because in the end, it throws out something that kind of fucks with your mind, and it really just kind of hammers in everything that happened in the story. This is different. This is something that just wants you to feel uncomfortable. This wants you to feel disgusted. It wants you to feel nasty, dirty, rotten. And there's no reason for it. In the other stories where you don't feel comfortable, it's because you're scared. You're not scared of this, you're just disgusted by it. It's nasty, it's gory, it's unnecessary. That's why this story is so abominable. And that's why I did it after Sonic.exe and before Sonic.exe 2. Yes, I will be doing the sequel to this story as well. But that's besides the point. And if you didn't know that there was a sequel to this story, neither did I! But oh my fuck, there is! So, my god. Alright. Again, the body was on the street, and the photographer's shadow was visible, very similar in size and shape to the first. I had to choke back vomit, and one intern, the only female in the room, ran out. The show resumed. About 5 seconds after this second photo played, Squidward went silent, as did all sound, like it was when the scene started. He put his tentacles down, and his eyes were now done in hyper-realism like the others were in the beginning of this episode. They were bleeding, bloodshot, and pulsating. He just stared at the screen as if watching the viewer. After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, this time covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud, and most fear-inducing of all, his sobbing was mixed with screams. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. I don't know why people think blood is so scary in stories. It's more nasty than it is scary. You can make it scary if you don't use it as much as this person has, but the fact that you've already used it like 50 times, and you've already, included the dead children in there that are probably rape and torture victims, that already kind of turns people off from thinking that blood is scary, and more thinking that you're just probably needing help. He just stared at the screen as if watching the viewer, blah, 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 blah. Tears and blood dripping down the face, heavy rate, when sound came back, and so did the deep voice laughing, and this time the still photo lasted for a good 5 frames. The animator was able to stop it on the 4th and backed up. This time the photo was of a boy. Wait, you weren't able to stop it the last 2 times? What do you mean? The animator was able to stop it on the 4th? if you're cutting it that close, you're telling me that he wasn't able to catch the last two? So how the fuck did you know the description, you stupid bitch?! That line didn't need to be in there. You just fucked up your own continuity. As if it gave a fucking shit to begin with. About the same age, this time the scene was different. The entrails were just being pulled out from a stomach wound by a large hand. The right eye popped and dangling, of course, blood trickling down it. The animator proceeded. It was hard to believe, but the next one was different, but we couldn't tell what. He went to the next, same thing. He went back to the first and played them quicker. And I lost it. I vomited on the floor. This guy sounds disgusting too. The animating and sound editors gasping at the screen. The 5 frames were not as if they were 5 different photos. They were played out as if they were frames from a video. We saw the hand slowly lift up the guts. We saw the kid's eyes focus on it. We even saw 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. This is disgusting. Like I said, this is just disgusting. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call in the creator to see this. Mr. Hillenberg arrived within about 15 minutes. He was confused as to why he was called down there. The editor continued the episode. Once the few frames were shown, all screaming, all sounds again stopped. Squidward was just staring at the viewer, full frame of the face, for about 5 seconds. The shot quickly panned out, and that deep voice said, "Do it," and we see in Squidward's hands a shotgun. He immediately puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger. Realistic blood and brain matter splatters the wall behind him and his bed, and he flies back with the force. The last 5 seconds of the episode show his body on the bed on his side, one eye dangling on what's left of his head above the floor, staring blankly at it. Then the episode ends. Mr. Hillenberg is obviously angry at this. He demanded to know what the hell was going on. Most people left the room at this point, so it was just a handful of us to watch it again. Viewing the episode twice only served to imprint the entirety of it in my mind and caused me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry I stayed. The only theory we could think of was the file was edited by someone in the chain from the drawing studio to here. Now this is the part of the story that really fucks it up. This is the part of the story that fucks this story up more than you can imagine. Because it's just not possible. CTO was called in to analyze when it happened. The analysis of the file did show it was edited over by new material. However, the timestamp of it was a mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. I'm going to estimate it took you probably even a minute just to get the damn thing set up. You're going to sit there and tell me that in 24 seconds, some random ass supernatural being, apparently, broke in to a guarded Hollywood studio and somehow edited over tape material that quickly with absolutely no evidence of tampering except a timestamp. Okay. 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 No, seriously. I'm okay. I'm okay. So get the fuck up! Okay. I just have one question for you, author. Who the fuck do you think you're fooling? No, really, what the fuck? What the fuck? You are an idiot. 24 seconds before we began viewing it. You probably took two to 3 minutes to get the damn thing in the room, and then another minute just to get the thing set up. Because you're all a bunch of lackadaisical sounding motherfuckers. All equipment involved was examined for foreign software and hardware as well as glitches. As if the timestamp may have glitched and showed the wrong time, but everything checked out fine. We don't know what happened, and to this day, nobody does. There was an investigation due to the nature of the photos, but nothing came of it. No child scene was identified, and no clues were gathered from the data involved. nor physical clues in the photos. I never believed in unexplainable phenomena before, but now that I have something happen and can't prove anything about it beyond anecdotal evidence, I think twice about things. Whoop-de-motherfucking-do. How fucking long is this shit? Too long. That's the answer. It's too long. Now, given this wasn't as long as the other two shit shows that we dealt with as the last two, this was a little bit of a mini review, mini rant. Like I said, the reason I did this is because this story is absolutely disgusting, and just to clarify, if I haven't already said this, if I do a story on here as a review, I will never, ever narrate it. Never. If I am going out of my way to make fun of a story, I will never narrate it seriously. Jeff the Killer, the one that I narrated, is not the one that I reviewed, and that is a rare exception. I have already stated several times, the only reason I even did that story was because it was something that was so special to me in terms of it being the very first one that I ever did listen to. So, you know, I have to kind of respect that story for that. And only that, of course. But other than that, this story is absolutely appalling and disgusting. How dare you put something so disgusting in here? And children are reading this. And I know, in today's world, there's the internet, and children are gonna see shit before they're even supposed to. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I've seen things long before I'm supposed to. But it doesn't matter. It still should stand that they should not be putting things out knowing that they're going to reach those people, because if they're never put out, how are you gonna reach it? Shit like this, it just doesn't need to be written. It's pointless. It's trying to just cash in on the fact that it has SpongeBob in it, and there's a very good reason why it was done by Bad Creepypasta. Anything done by Bad Creepypasta, obviously, it's a shit show. Now, as opposed to telling you what the next review will be, instead, I'm going to make it a surprise. I'm going to find something shittier than this story, than Been Drowned, than Sonic.exe all together. I'm going to go on a magical quest, and I'm going to find a shit show so horrifying and so filth-ridden that you will probably never want to see one of these videos again. And that's alright with me. But in all honesty, thank you all for watching yet another one of my terrible videos. I will see you all next time in the surprise review. I don't know when that'll be. I'm going on vacation this week, at the end of this week, and I will be back next Tuesday, or next Monday. Not next Monday. This coming Monday. And, when I am back, I will do another video on Tuesday. So, this week's videos are today, and next week's videos are on Tuesday. So, a week from today will be next week's videos. So, you know, look forward to that. There will also be a short announcement video coming right after this regarding my subscriber count, as I'm only 10 away from 2,500 now. So, hopefully you'll all check that out, and thank you all for watching yet another one of my shitty, shit-ridden fuck videos. I had to throw a few little more in there just to piss some people off. Bye, everybody.